Hello, my name is Catherine Agar, and I am Director of the Writing Center and Student Tutoring at OWCA College in New York State. In my earliest foray into the world of writing centers, I noted a ubiquitous piece of received wisdom that consisted of three rhetorical moves. 1. The ideal writing center interaction is modeled on the Burkean parlor. 2. Online writing labs cannot replicate the Burkean parlor. Therefore, 3. Online writing centers cannot provide the kind of support that makes students better writers instead of making papers better papers. Since I was at that time working as a writing specialist in an exclusively online writing center and firmly believed that we were indeed working to make our students better writers, I disagreed with these premises. 11 years, one pandemic, and one chatbot panic later, I still disagree, only more vigorously. Barron et al. 2023 from the University of Connecticut report on an empirical study that found, quote, offering a diverse range of tutoring modes increases access to writing center resources, end quote. And meeting students where they are is more complex than insisting they enter the parlor, sit down, and engage in academic discourse. Students, like all of us, are all over the place. We text, make phone calls, order online, make reservations online, play games alone and with strangers around the world, and have intimate conversations with actual humans who are sitting right next to us. We seamlessly negotiate all of these varying modes of interaction and communication without even pausing to register that we're transitioning. Debate rages about whether communication of all types has suffered as a result. But as they say, the horse is out of the barn and is not coming back. This is where we are. That being so, I argue that it is time for the Burkean parlor, like parlors in general, to take its place as a quaint artifact of yesteryear. And instead, I offer the family room, a metaphorical environment generative of writing where everyone can gather, engage with each other, with text and with electronic devices, shifting seamlessly between modes of interaction, not rigidly locked into any one correct way of doing education. In my writing center family room are distance learners, traditional on-campus students, hybrid/high flex students, those with accessibility issues, the neurodivergent, and everyone else choosing their modality du jour and even of the moment. The question then is not how can we make students learn online in a way that replicates in person, but how can we make our multiple modalities pedagogically rich? Having taken you to where I'm going, let's go backwards a bit to look at where I'm coming from. When I began as a writing specialist in the OWCA College Writing Center in 2012, I provided exclusively online asynchronous writing feedback to students who were enrolled in our hybrid degree completion programs. Our college is a small liberal arts school located in the rural Finger Lakes region of upstate New York. We have a residential campus where current enrollment is around 1,000 students, but we also at that time had a separate entity which was called the Adult and Online Education Program. Our students were primarily non-traditional older adults with full-time jobs and often family and other responsibilities. They came into the program with associate degrees they had previously earned, sometimes recently, but most often in prior decades. They attended class one evening a week for 4 hours, and the remainder of their work and contact time was accomplished online, which was the primary appeal of the program. Since it was impossible for students physically located in places such as Rochester, Ithaca, Syracuse, and Elmira, New York, to come to our location for writing help, they emailed papers to me and my colleague in our nascent writing center. We provided the students with feedback and emailed their papers back to them. On campus, traditional students took exclusively in-person courses and were served by the Campus Writing Center, which conducted in-person appointments only and had little to do with our virtual writing center. The college decided for many reasons that it would make sense to collapse the distinctions between the traditional on-site and non-traditional hybrid programs, a process that took several years. The decision was finally made to consolidate the two writing centers as well, and I was hired in 2019 to direct the newly combined one. Thus, we were in the unique position of having brought in someone to lead the physical writing center, whose only prior experience was with a virtual one. This to me was an opportunity to ensure that our entire student population had the same access to writing assistance. I wanted our online students to feel as much a part of the student experience as our on-campus students, and I wanted them to have the same level of writing support. At the same time, I felt that our on-site students could benefit from the increased accessibility afforded by virtual feedback, both asynchronous and synchronous. In fact, my team and I were in discussions about when and how to open virtual writing support to on-site students when the pandemic hit. Without the time to develop a marketing plan or roll out a soft start, we, like everyone, had no option but to move all of our operations virtual. Concurrently with the pandemic, our college had been aligning online courses with their on-campus equivalents. In addition, a roster of online courses was opened to on-campus students, enabling them greater scheduling flexibility and improved degree completion time. As a result of all these events, there is no longer a bright line of demarcation between on-site and online students. We were all one unified student body. As the distinctions between populations collapsed, so too do the distinctions between modalities of writing support. In place of the three premises I mentioned at the beginning, that the Burkean Parlor is the best model for writing support, that online writing centers cannot replicate the Burkean Parlor, and that, therefore, online writing centers can never be truly educative, I propose what I call my three truths of the family room. They are: 1. The family room is the replacement model for writing support because it is reflective of the lived experience of today's student. A parlor was where company was received, where one sat stiffly on a horsehair settee and engaged in ritualized conversation. A family room, by contrast, invites occupants to drift in and out, to interact with each other, with devices, or with people not physically present, and to do all of this in a way that is most suited to their needs of the moment and in which they are accustomed to interacting. 2. Writing centers do not need to attempt to replicate the Burkean Parlor because the Burkean Parlor is outmoded. It has been replaced with a more up-to-date and robust family room. 3. Online writing support can be as conducive to learning as any other type of writing support, and perhaps even more so, since students are not required to rely on their memories of a conversation in which only certain points may have fully registered. The feedback is written down for them, easy to refer back to, and clearly applicable to not just the location in which it is placed, but across the assignment and on to other assignments. The affordances of multimodality are many. They include accessibility. I would not want to ask a student in a wheelchair, for example, to try to navigate their way through the snow we sometimes get here. They include students with neurodivergence who may find it difficult or uncomfortable to focus in a personal one-on-one conversation. They include retrievability. As I have said, the information waits for the student to be ready to retrieve it as many times as they need to. Multimodality works well with what brain science tells us, that the ability to use spaced practice, retrieval practice, and interleaving facilitates transference of information into long-term memory. With written feedback, students can practice all three. And finally, as we all know, more students today are suffering from depression and anxiety, and choosing one's preferred meeting method can help mitigate that. All three modalities are educational. I'm sure that next year or in the next decade or century, there will be modalities that we can't even conceive of right now, and the challenges and opportunities will be the same. How do we provide quality writing support to students so that they can internalize the feedback and apply it to this paper, the next paper, and the paper assignment and professional report down the road? In short, as students are all different with different needs, challenges, and preferences, we must meet them where they are in the multimodal family room. If we have learned anything at all from the pandemic, it is that we must be informal, flexible, and multimodal. I would love to correspond with any of you who might have questions. Let's keep the conversation going, and thank you so much for your time.